Hey everybody, welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. What is an exhaustion gap and is it tradable? I believe it is, not by itself. You want to use confirmation, you want to use your common sense, you want to conduct your own research and due diligence. Don't just buy something because a certain candle pattern happened, okay? There are other factors involved and these do not work 100% of the time, all right? You got to have a plan, a plan of action, otherwise you don't know what you're doing. And I do coach people, so if you'd like some help putting together a trading or investing plan, you can email me. My email address is right there, davidmodell@gmail.com. So let's talk about exhaustion gaps. You know, when you get a move, whether it's a move to the downside or an overall move to the upside, okay, they don't last forever, all right? As they say, trees don't grow to the heavens. All right. In other words, even the strongest up move in Apple here, and this is on tradingview.com. It is a daily candlestick chart, but the idea of an exhaustion gap could occur on pretty much any time frame. I mean, whether it's a 1 minute candlestick chart, 5 minute, 1 hour daily candlestick chart like this one, or whatever it is, the pattern is still the same and it could still apply. All right. So, Apple couldn't possibly just go up day after day forever. It's going to get exhausted at some point. Just like over here, again, this is another Apple daily candlestick chart and it's going down, 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 but it's not going to go down forever. All right. It's possible, companies go bankrupt and their stock does go to zero, but not in this case with Apple, at least not here. All right. So we'll start with the bearish version of an exhaustion gap. So you've got there aren't any really big gaps here that I see. It's just going up pretty continuously, and then a pretty sizable gap here. So that sounds bullish, right? Well, it depends. Not necessarily. When you see a gap, you don't know if this is going to be a continuation gap or a breakaway gap, as they say. You don't know if it's just going to keep running upwards, or is it going to turn around and go downwards? I mean, look at this candle. Notice how long that upper wick is. See that upper shadow or upper wick there? All right. So that's not necessarily a good sign. Yes, it gapped up. That's bullish, okay? And you also want to check the volume. I didn't put the volume on here, but if there's a lot of volume going on there, that might make you think. On the other hand, look at the size of the upper wick. But as far as deciding whether it's an exhaustion gap or not, you got to look at what happens over the next few candlesticks. Does it soon close that gap? Yes, it did. Look at that gap, but then didn't take long before it came right back down to where it was before the gap. Okay, so it basically filled that gap, and not in a good way. Okay, filled it right back down. That tells you that that's an exhaustion gap. All right, so how do you know it's an exhaustion gap? A bearish one? Well, you had an uptrend, an overall uptrend, and then a decent sized gap. And then it quickly, in the next few candles, closed or filled that gap. That is a great time to get the heck out of that trade if you were long. Okay, if you owned Apple stock, that would have been a great time to say, you know what, this is an exhaustion gap. I'm getting the heck out of there. I'm taking my profits and running away. And guess what? After that, down, down, down. I'm not saying that happens every single time. This is not 100% perfect. All right, but that's just to show you an example of what an exhaustion gap is, especially if it's bearish. And again, having that long upper wick there, that's another clue. And you want to check the volume as well. All right, so not all exhaustion gaps are bearish, okay, but that's one to look for. Some people would even take a short position after that gap is filled. That's a little bit dangerous, though, because Apple is a good company that tends to go up a lot. So I don't know if I would necessarily recommend, going short. All right, especially for beginners. Probably you want to go long only most of the time if you're just starting out in trading. Now, what about the other way around? Well, again, we have Apple here. And it's a daily candlestick chart again. I just moved it over to a different time. All right, and look at that overall downtrend. Down, not every single candle is down, but it is overall down, down, down. Okay, and then a big gap down. Look at the size of that gap, right? Big gap down. Okay, but maybe you can't see it so well. This is a red candle here, not necessarily a great sign. You'd want to look at the volume as well, which I did not put on here because it would overlap the candles here if I put the volume up there. But then look what happens afterward. If the gap started here, immediately, the next 4 days, next 4 candles went right about here and it closed that gap. Okay, so that's an exhaustion gap, but it's a bullish one in this case. All right, so if you were taking a short position and you were doing well, you had a profit, and then you saw a gap down, you might get excited. You might think, oh, it's going to be a continuation type of thing. But then look at what happens afterward. If it quickly, within a few candles, closes that gap, that is considered an exhaustion gap, at least by the definition that I'm using. But this is a bullish one. And these are reversal patterns, by the way, these exhaustion gaps, okay? But you won't know it until it fills that gap. And then that would have been a great time to get out of your short position, to cover it, okay? Or maybe even take a long position. Now, don't use this as your only indicator to take a long position. Don't just say, oh, you had a gap down and then it filled it quickly, therefore I'm going to get in. No, you want to look at other things. You want to look at the news, what's going on with Apple, okay? Is there a reason for it to turn around? All right, and you can use other indicators as well. But this does count, at least technically, as an exhaustion gap, and look what happened afterwards, up, up, and away, okay? So you could have a bearish exhaustion gap and a bullish one, but you won't know until that gap is filled. Don't just look at that gap and think, oh, well, this is going to be an exhaustion gap. You don't know. It might be a runaway type of gap, continuation, that kind of thing. You don't know until it gets filled. All right. So this has multiple parts to it, and again, you're looking at the volume as well. All right. So that's your basic definition or examples of these exhaustion gaps. The move it's always going to get exhausted at some point, and this could be a pattern to let you know that could be in progress. Always use small position sizes. Always respect your stop losses if you're using stop losses, and stay safe, all right? And have a trading plan, and that's what I help people with. If you want help putting together a trading or investing plan, again, my email address is davidmodell@gmail.com. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe right now and hit that notification bell on YouTube, because I enjoy giving you these types of videos. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you again soon.